Hello everybody, Luke back once again. This time to be breaking down some common mistakes that for sale by owners make when they sell their home, or really anybody who sells a home. Now, selling your home yourself can be a great way to do it, especially if you already have a deal in place. No reason to pay a realtor if you already have the buyer. I've bought and sold homes like that before. But you have to be very careful as a for sale by owner not to make some common mistakes that can cost you big. Now, these mistakes may drive down the price of your home because you raised questions on the buyer's behalf, or maybe you made some legal mistakes that will cost you legally later on down the road. We're going to be taking a look at 5 common mistakes people do when they sell their home that lower the value of the home, raise questions about the home, or may cause you some legal headaches later. So keep that in mind. We're going to be diving into all of them, breaking it all down. Even though I haven't been a realtor in a little bit now, I still buy and sell homes both for investment and personal use and really enjoy it. I love diving into all this. So hopefully these tips will help you. First though, if you're new here, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. It really does help us because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. Hopefully we can help you learn something new and avoid some common mistakes. Now, we have a ton of videos breaking down different topics. Do me a big favor, check them out, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. Hopefully we can help you and you can help us by letting YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. All right, let's dive into this. Now, there are so many home buyers right now. You may be thinking, hey, why do I get a realtor when I can just do it for sale by owner? Apparently, there's so many buyers, I won't have any problem selling my home. And that may be true right now. You do have a little bit more of an uphill run because even many websites like this one, you know, the for sale by owners are actually hidden over here in another tab. So keep that in mind. You know, there's always a trade-off. Keep it and always remember that. But what are some common mistakes? Well, number one is having too much information out there. Often people are thinking, hey, I'm just going to tell the potential buyer every little thing about my home, including some information you probably shouldn't actually be giving because it actually may make you legally liable, give a wrong impression of your home, and more. One of the big mistakes I find a lot of homeowners do is they try to give old, outdated information. Now, this one's actually not too bad. This is a 2017 inspection report from apparently a very prominent inspector in the region about the home. Now, the reason I say that's bad is this report is about 4 years old right now. And the problem with that is you handed them over a document and you said, hey, here's an inspection that shows everything is good in the house. Well, things change in 4 years. And if they would take that and they said, and Larry came down to you and said, hey, you gave us a report that said the furnace worked, the roof wasn't leaking, whatever, and it was, you could try to say, well, that was from 2017, but the buyer could make a legitimate argument that you basically made a guarantee to them that this report was still current because you implied it when you supplied it. Now, these kind of things happen all the time. People offer outdated information, and that gets them in trouble. And I find homeowners are very good with that, or are very bad with that, I should say, is they give too much. The other thing is just giving them too many things before they actually buy the home. During the showing, for example, when they're coming through, you're like, oh, we had a big issue here, we fixed whatever. You kind of go through all this stuff that, you typically put in the seller's disclosure and more. You want to be careful about giving them more information than they need during a showing because you want people to like your home, right? Now, you legally have to disclose stuff. There is a seller's disclosure you have to do. But a lot of other people do things like, hey, my cat died right here in this spot. And that can really kill the mood for a lot of potential home buyers. So keep that in mind. Be careful about giving information you really don't need to have offered out there because it can kind of kill the mood for a lot of people. People want to feel at home. They want to feel comfortable here. If you're pestering them with a story about how your daughter's birthday was here and this and that, they're not paying attention to the house as something where they could bring their stuff into it and make it comfortable. If you're offering them old, outdated information here from 2017, that's actually not bad. I've seen some listings where it's like 10, 15-year-old listings and they're still trying to offer it as current information, that can really kill your ability to get a deal done. Or once the deal is done, they may come back after you claiming that the information you offered them was inaccurate because it was so dated that there was actually problems there that weren't on the report. Keep that in mind. Number 2 is not enough photos, or photos that are either just on the inside or just on the outside of a home. Now, this is a for sale by owner home of a home that's still under construction, which is fine. Actually, this happens more often than you think it will be. People start building a home, run out of money, or something happens and they move. I've actually purchased a home like this. It was a custom built from a builder. The buyer started the custom home in a big development that the builder was building. For whatever reason, backed out. The seller or the builder put it back on the market. I picked it up, finished up a few things in it, and it was one of the first homes my wife and I ever owned together. It was a really good home. We absolutely loved it. But here's one that just says, hey, it's under construction. It looks like it's pretty far along, though not 100% done. You can see some siding on the side that needs to be done. You see the shed hasn't been sided yet and the like. But there's absolutely no interior photos. And when you have no interior photos, it definitely starts raising questions about the condition of the home on the inside. Are we looking at a shell here? Are we not? These kind of questions push away potential buyers when they're looking at buying a home. No one wants to buy a home that they think that is a lot of work. It always amazes me. People always assume work on a home is A, more expensive, and B, takes longer than it really does. And there may be a lot of people who are willing to, in this case, like I was, finish a home a little bit, or maybe finish this one. And if they're just looking here and they're like, oh, I have to do some siding work, maybe a little bit, maybe it still just needs some carpet and some paint, and that's really kind of the big things to do, I bet a lot of people will buy it. But I bet you there's a lot of people who are looking at this home saying, hey, maybe there's absolutely nothing in the bathroom. There's nothing in the kitchen. I need a home that I can move into fairly quickly for my family. I don't have 8 months to finish a home. Well, builders may look at that and say, hey, really, give me 5 weeks and I'm going to have that home done, or maybe even 4 weeks. But there's not enough information here really to figure that out. Now, most people actually don't bother to read the descriptions. You won't believe it, but 90% of the first decision on homes comes from the media. Pictures and videos are 90% of the first impression. You need to have a good first impression here, or people aren't going to go down to the description and read it. They're just going to stop here and say 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,600 square feet, and no pictures of the inside. Next, I'm going to go look for the next home. So keep that in mind. You need to give them an adequate appearance of the home before people will actually call and come look at it. Number 2 is having too many photos. Now, this home has 54, which isn't crazy. It's a almost 4,000 square foot home, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths. So the pictures themselves aren't too bad. The problem is you get things like multiple redundant photos of the steps here, for example. You get photos, let me keep going down. You get photos of just drawers, like this picture drawer here of a kitchen drawer. Who you really don't want that, and I'll explain why in a minute. Here's another one, just a picture of the bar stools and a cabinet, which you've already seen and in other pictures. So keep that in mind. You want to be careful about giving too much here. And the reason being is you want people to come in your home. There was a lot of talk realtors had that per minute in a home, a potential buyer becomes more and more likely to purchase. Every 5 or 10 minutes, the likelihood of them buying a home significantly increases. I was always amazed. I'm the kind of person in a house this size, a 3,000 plus square house, I may spend 20 minutes to half an hour in it, right? I want to slowly walk through the kitchen. I want to slowly walk through the bathrooms, the upstairs, and just kind of get a good feel of it. My wife and I, we sold a home once to a couple that spent less than 10 minutes in a house that was 3,000 square feet. They came in. From the time the realtor unlocked the door, came in, to the time they were locked up and lights were all turned off and they were home or out there, was 10 minutes. And it had a decent yard too. Did you even walk around the yard? But that is something that is important to remember. Now, for example, here, you got this stove. That's a 2-stove oven, situation in a home. It's really nice. But do I need a picture of the zoomed up Bosch logo on it? A spice drawer is kind of cool. I may include that, but just a picture of the cabinets. Here's a third picture of the steps in the home. And I understand you may really like that look of that step. Some people really would like that. I think maybe pine. I don't know. I'm not always the greatest wood person in this picture, but having 3 different pictures of it is actually probably a turnoff to some people. And it removes the mystery of the home. It removes that, hey, I want to go look at it. You want to use pictures to draw people in. You don't want to use the pictures that it's so many pictures that no one will want to actually come to the home. Keep that in mind, that you need to actually have all this used in a way that attracts people to come to your home. Because very, very rarely do people actually buy just by looking at it. And a lot of realtors get very nervous when somebody wants to make an offer on a home they've never actually been in, because usually that's a warning sign for a potential scam, which happens sometimes, or it's somebody who may find themselves in potential issues later on buying a home that they didn't really realize was some particular way. And then they come to the realtor later and say, hey, the pictures didn't fully disclose what this house really was like. I don't like it. And you say, well, you had an opportunity to go through it. You refused. That's not really my problem now. But that's an argument that can go back and forth. So keep that in mind. Use your pictures. You need pictures of the inside and outside enough to give people a good idea, but not so much that you're making it so they don't want to go into it. So keep that in mind. Number 4, making promises that you can't really guarantee. Now, here's a great example. Here's somebody who's listed a home, and it's in a military community. My wife was active duty for a long time, and they're talking about it in here is if your BAH, which is your housing allowance the military families get, is $1,600, they're saying basically after 3 years, you will be able to pocket $57,000, and you can sell it when you PCS or ETS out, when you get moved, restationed out. The problem with that is a few things. BAH is something you have no control over. The military regularly raises and lowers it. 2, you really don't have control over what the interest rate on somebody's mortgage is, for example. Your mortgage may be a particular rate, but I may be unable to get that rate and get that particular one. I may have bad credit. Maybe interest rates have changed, for example. And that means that, hey, I made a promise to you that if you buy my home in 3 years, you'll be able to pocket $57,600 from your allowance from the military for housing. Maybe that's right. Maybe maybe even more if they made a down payment, for example. It could be less. Be very careful, because what happens here is the buyer saved this. They come to you in 3 years and say, hey, I only saved $32,000. I want you to pay me the rest of the money. Things like that happen. And it really, you may win that lawsuit, but do you want to pay lawyers to fight that lawsuit? Keep that in mind. You are here trying to give them only accurate, verifiable information that you can back up. You don't want to make broad promises about possible future events that are out of your control. And a lot of sellers make that mistake. They come in and they will say, hey, oh yeah, you buy my home, trust me, the value of this home will triple in the next few years. I'm selling it way below market. You don't know what will happen to the economy. You don't know what happens. What happens if the Air Force and Army decide, hey, the greater Fairbanks, North Pole area in Alaska, we don't want to have our troops stationed there anymore. We're going to pull them out. Now, suddenly, the demand for homes go down. When demand for homes go down, the value of homes go down. Keep that in mind. You cannot make promises to things that you do not actually own or have control over, for example. A few other quick details here. Do your best to double check the information here. Be very clear about what people are purchasing, what they're not purchasing, and the like with it. For example, when you are buying a home, this one's in an HOA, for example, that's fine. It covers heat, water, sewer, trash, and snow plowing, maintenance, and more. It's like a condo HOA from the looks of it. Remember to try to include information with that. If you have an HOA, I can't tell how many people don't even put the HOA information on their listing, or they don't really tell you anything about it, right? I'm paying 300 some bucks a month. What am I getting? Well, actually, if you think about it, to have your heat, water, sewer, trash, snow removing, and grounds maintenance all done for you, $339, that's actually not a bad deal. It could be a great selling point, right? Buy a home, free heat, free water, free sewer, free trash. There you go. Keep that in mind, that is a big issue you need to be aware of. Now, with this listing, it very well may be that they have a way of pretty much guaranteeing this. With a condo, they may have some type of information that guarantees the pricing and more on it. Just be very careful when you disclose information that's accurate. And if you do have something like an HOA, that you're disclosing all of the information about it to make it look very attractive. Well, there you go. A few quick reminders. Make sure you have current information. Don't be trying to give people information from past inspections as it could be old, because they can make arguments that you promised them that a home or the condition of the home was still the same as it was in 2017. Let's be honest, that's not possible. Homes are just like everything. Over time, things happen. Make sure you have photos of both the inside and outside. Remember, most people will look at the photos before they look at anything else. Very rarely do people actually read the descriptions nowadays, I find, on homes. Keep that in mind, though descriptions are still important. Don't have too many photos. Remember, your goal here is to get them into the home. You have multiple pictures of this door basically here, multiple pictures of the floor. I'm really not sure 100% what you're trying to show here. You want to tease them to get them in the home. Remember, the longer they're in the home, the far more likely traditionally they are to actually buy that home. And be careful about making promises outside your control. If you're going to tell people they're going to be pocketing $57,000 in 3 years, you better be able to back it up. You may be able to win that lawsuit down the road, but fighting it will cost you a lot of money. And make sure you do disclose all the important things. For example, you have an HOA, make sure you tell them what is included on it. And like this one's actually not a bad deal. Heat, water, sewer, trash, snow removal, and grounds maintenance for a little over $300 is not a bad deal. Most people pay more than that, even on a condo, when they're paying it all individually on their own. So keep that in mind. All right, so that's it. There are 5 common mistakes for sale by owners make when they sell their home. These mistakes often lower the attraction of your home, which can drive down the price. So keep that in mind. You know, people, for example, on the home with not enough photos, they may be very willing to finish that home, but their lack of information about what the condition of it is, how much work it is, makes them move on. You may be thinking they're going to call you. Let's be honest. There are still a lot of homes. When I just kind of did a quick search here, 246 homes in this area still for sale up in Alaska. There may not be as many homes as there were, and there may be a lot more buyers, but there are still a lot of homes. And if your home seems to have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns around it, guess what? They're just going to be moving on to the next home, and they're not going to bother trying to call you and get that information. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, this is all my personal opinion. I hope these tips help you out. I'll love to hear from you. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Have you run into any common mistakes sellers make, for sale by owner or other? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, help me out. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up. It really does help us because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. Hopefully we can help you learn something new.